Kelsey, are you recording?
Yep.
Thank you.
Got it. We also have a
Um,
request from an AI note taker to record the meeting. Is anyone
that is Vicky.
that is Vicky? Okay. I'm gonna approve
That's
it
Vicky.
unless anyone is
Yeah,
not.
yeah. No, that's Vicky. Um, so we had a update from the Northern Plains Hub last spring, and we wanted to get an update from the Southwest Hub on activities. We're working really hard to join forces with the hub to bring our work into Indian country. So we've been doing some um, joint workshops. And we both have activities going on, so we wanted to hear from them, and then we will ask for a quick update from the USDA folks if there's any updates on programs, as much as you know them now, given what happened a couple weeks ago. So with that, Katie, I'm turning it over to you. Oh, Helena, who's starting?
It'll
You
be
take it away.
Helena.
I'll be starting.
Helena, then Emily, then me.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you, Helena.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's Helena Deswood and Shia. Tratna zahnin shlo toba hambashishtin trotzane edashiche trachin additional hata edana eston shlo. I see a tahasa or gena a nasha. I'm the tribal coordinator for the Southwest Climate Hub. I live and work down here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And today I'll be covering precipitation monitoring and some of the drought workshops I've held over the years. The climate hubs, there are 11 hubs across the nation. For our hub, we cover New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, Hawaii, and the Pacific affiliated islands. And the main thing we do are translating climate science into action. The three main areas where we work are science and data synthesis, translating and delivering relevant information, technology, tool development, and support. And where I do a lot of my work is outreach, convening, and training. I'm going to cover Drought Learning Network first off. So this was created back in, where it started was back in 2018. There was exceptional drought in the Four Corners regions. And we wanted to get a network together where it's a peer-to-peer knowledge exchange between climate service providers and resource managers. And our goal is to gather and share lessons learned from drought events to improve our response to future droughts. And out of this, we've had 5 working groups, and they evolve or go away depending on the need. So our 4 continuing working groups that have been ongoing are the monitoring and impacts reporting, drought and ag, indigenous collaborations, sharing management practices, and the new working group that formed recently is the fire and climate adaptation. And I have the web link there if you'd like to learn more information, or if you'd like to join one of these working groups. We do have a quarterly meeting for the whole network itself, and each team has their own separate meetings as well. And here is just showing the 5 teams. This slide does need to be updated to show the new working group that just recently formed. And the Indigenous collaborations teams over the years, we've done monthly. Well, the first year we did monthly drought outlooks for the tribes and pueblos in New Mexico, working with Dave Dubois. And we've done a drought webinar series collaborating with the Navajo Sustainable Ag Projects since 2021. We've done rangeland precipitation monitoring workshops, drought workshops with the Pueblo of Santa Ana. We've been invited to several tribes, and on Navajo, it's called grazing officials. They have their there are 110 chapters on the Navajo Nations. So I have been invited to from some of those chapters, and we've done Kokoraj trainings as well, along with My Range Log, which are low-cost tools to monitor precipitations. And last year, we hosted the rainwater harvesting and soil testing workshop, and the Pueblo of Santa Ana hosted us, and we worked in collaborations with the drought excuse me, the Pueblo Drought Smart project, which will be wrapping up soon. Kokoraz, which is one of the tools for precipitation monitoring. It is community-based network of volunteers. Anyone can join the network, and you just take measurements, rain, hail, and snow. And let me see. Can you all see my arrow? So you click here, join Kokoraz, and an application will come up, and you fill it out. We do provide the required rain gauge to be a part of this network through our Southwest Climate Hub. We do webinar trainings, or if there are enough people, we can do in person. And the data is used. There are many reports, but the main important ones are the daily precipitation reports, the hail reports, and significant weather reports. And all of these 3 reports, they go to the National Weather Service forecasters in real time, and it helps with sending out warnings in case there's a flash flood. That's pretty important in our arid regions. Sometimes we'll get those intense rainfalls. And it also feeds into the U.S. drought monitor maps. It's important to report your zeros. I know it's not reporting zeros may not be as exciting when compared to when it does rain, but those zeros are helpful. And there is a monthly zero reports where you can just bring it up and check mark it, and that will help automatically help you assist your reports as well. The other type of monitoring is the My Range Log, and we collaborated with University of Arizona. And the goal is to make it easier for ranchers and land managers to collect their observations. So here, this one is more of a cumulative observations. It's a different type of rain gauge, a DIY, build it yourself. Most of the materials you can buy at your local hardware store. You put in a mineral oil, so you don't check it as often. You can put it in more remote locations out on the range and put it at different elevations. Put it out on the rangelands where you're grazing your cattle. Whereas Kokoraz, you want it closer to your house or to your farm or your garden where you check it every day, because that one is a daily precipitation observations. And whereas My Range Log, you can go every few weeks, or when you sign up, you can set up a notification, like where only notify me when it rains like half an inch, or there's an estimated of an inch or higher. And that will be the times when you go out and check your gauge. And at the end of the year, you go ahead and reset your gauge. I looked at the website last night, and there are 84 participants now. And here it will give you, I really like this because it uses historical 30-year average. It will give you an idea how much rain you're accumulating. So for this particular site, the estimates are a little bit on the lower side, whereas with the dotted line on the graph. and then the solid line is your observations. And the white line there is the median for your area. And with this, you can also take photos. So you can you could probably set up a transect line for your vegetation monitoring and store your images here as well. That would be, it's a pretty handy tool right there.
Helena, how many tribal ranchers have you had using these tools?
I built some gauges. Well, I started building some gauges in 2020, but then, the pandemic happened and I finished it up in 2022. So we held a workshop at Pueblo Santa Ana, and there I had like about at least 50 gauges.
Wow.
Yeah. So going back to that map here,
Yeah.
this is the public facing map. On this, you have the option to keep it private. So I'm sure there's more in New Mexico, but they might have set their map to private.
Fantastic. Do you have a DIY kind of guide or video on building the gauges?
Yes. So here is the bulletin that was created by Mike Crimmins and
Okay.
other authors, and you can go to my range log, the website right there, and go under support, and there's 2 PDFs available there, and it's really, I followed that PDF myself to build these gauges. It's pretty straightforward, and if you have any questions, email me or Mike Crimmins. We're pretty responsible. So in the future, I'm wanting to do more of a hands-on where the ranchers will be putting together the gauges themselves. I'll just go ahead and cut up the materials ahead of time to save on some time. And with that many gauges, 50 or 60, good thing out at the ranch at Jornada Experimental Ranch, they had a drill press and they have like more of these heavy duty equipment that I could use. But if you're just building 1 gauge or 2, you don't need like a drill press like that size. But with more than 50 gauges, yeah, that was pretty helpful right there. And here I just mentioned we were getting ready for the rangeland precipitation monitoring workshop that we were going to co-host at Pueblo Santa Ana back in April 2020, and then completed that until June 2022. And this was right after our in-person Drought Learning Network meeting. We held it in Las Cruces, and right after drive up to Bernalillo area and get ready for our drought workshop there. And another workshop we held over the summer was the Navajo Farmer Rancher Congress meeting, and we partnered with Navajo Sustainable Ag Project and Diné College Land Grant Office. It was a 2-day event. We covered rangeland monitoring, figuring out your carrying capacity out on the range. We partnered with the Flagstaff National Weather Service also, and they installed a weather station. Oh, I forget the exact date. It might have been 2019. And here I asked them to come back out and share the information with them, or to share it with the community and where they can find the data. And there was a chunk of period there, I guess it lost connection. And so there was another Kokoraz observer in the area in Taylor community who noticed that. And, so he reported to them, contacted them, and got the problem fixed. And we covered a lot, covering both the farmer topics and the ranching topics. Got producers, their beef quality, BQA certifications. Had folks present about how to select a seed for your area if you're going to either do farming or try to do reseeding out on the ranch. We've done some irrigation, rainwater harvesting. There was a lot of topics that we covered, and I believe this was a group that started earlier, but during the pandemic, it kind of came to a standstill, and we just, between the three partners, we're trying to help get that Congress up and running again. And we got new officers in place. So we'll be, there'll probably be another annual meeting this summer. And we have a quarterly bulletin. If you have any tools or resources that you would like to share, or if you want to like us to share your event or a webinar you have upcoming, send it to me. We have a monthly podcast called Come Rain or Shine. And we also have a YouTube channel. It has a ton of webinars that we've done there as well. And for social media, we have a Facebook page for the Drought Learning Network as well. And then I just want to mention, I'll be partnering soon with the First Nations Development Institute to put on some of these producer workshops, probably start planning those in January. And if you like more information on that, email me. Or if you'd like to partner, let me know.
And what does that entail?
We've had producers that are interested in plant identifications, soil
Nice.
health. Yeah, it's a broad range.
Well, we would definitely be interested in getting that the DIY rain gauge information out to more communities. I know it would be of interest in the Northern Plains as well. So we will definitely follow up. Thank you, Helena. That was great.
Thank you.
Are there other questions for Helena before we move on to Emily? I think you're up next, correct?
I am, yeah, but I wanted to give it a minute in case there are questions for Helena.
Thanks for sharing the links in the chat. There was a lot of information I covered.
Yeah, no, it's really great, and I'm really glad to see these programs that you started pre-pandemic actually being able to get out. The DIY concept and being able to do things locally in the community and be able to do things like produce them locally in the community, I think is really important, and that's a really big push. That I would love to see that expanded into other areas. Okay, Emily, I think you're up.
Okay, I'm up. Sounds good. Helena, thank you so much. It's fun to hear folks on our team present the work that we're doing. My name's Emile Elias, and I direct the Southwest Climate Hub. I've been with the Hub Network since we were formed a decade ago, a little bit over a decade now. And I am a research hydrologist by training. So my background is in all things water, but especially hydrologic modeling. It's just been a real pleasure to see the climate hubs grow over the past decade and to be part of this project. So thanks for the invitation to be here. Maureen, thanks for your leadership of the project. And Helena mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. All 11 of the climate hubs that are across the nation and now an international climate hub operate in 3 functional areas. We do a lot of work around science synthesis. We do a lot of work around decision support. And then we do a lot with convening and training. And so a good example of science synthesis would be our participation in the National Climate Assessment. And so if you haven't gotten to see the National Climate Assessment, we just finished the 5th one in 2023, and efforts are moving ahead for the 6th National Climate Assessment. It's usually a 4-year process, and there are really important parts in that process where people can weigh in on and share their thoughts about the chapters. And so this is an invitation to this group to please, keep an eye out for those times when public comment is invited, and ensure that traditional knowledges are included, traditional ecological knowledge, or some of the work from this project as well. So that's just a reminder from the science synthesis realm. Most of our work is with, because we're USDA Climate Hub Network, is with farmers, ranchers, and foresters. And we in the Southwest have some major programs in water and agriculture and focusing on forests and forest health. But today I'm just going to mention a few collaborations that we have had specifically with groups that are working with tribes. So we have had a collaboration with the Institute of American Indian Arts, or IAIA, which is a 1994 land grant institution, tribal serving institution in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And in the past year, our work with IAIA was around, or past few years, was around developing the introduction to beekeeping and pollinator stewardship for Indigenous stewards. So this is a class. I have a flyer that I can share about the class, and the class is really geared towards Indigenous communities to promote beekeeping and land stewardship. So 33 people were accepted in the class just last year, and it's a 10-month program, and it's led by Melanie Kirby. She's an excellent beekeeper, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about this course that we really support. We support it financially through a cooperative agreement. But if you want to hear more about it, we're talking to Melanie on our podcast, and I dropped a link in the chat. So we'll be airing that conversation early next year about this program with IAIA. Another research project I wanted to mention is really a community-based research project with acequias in northern New Mexico. Acequias are traditional irrigation systems, so sort of from the Spanish lineage, so pre-colonialization as we know it now. And so this project is really to link science and the socio-environmental system. And the idea that centers this project is that when we have the opportunity to come together and inform each other with scientific information and local knowledge about the socio-environmental system, that people can envision a viable future and formulate solutions for enhanced social and ecological resilience. So that's the central core of this project, and a big part of what we'll be doing and what Katie will be leading is really those conversations, helping to facilitate conversations between scientists and people that are working there and living there in the communities. And another activity I wanted to mention to everyone is a partnership we have with Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. It supports a regenerative agriculture certificate program. And so it really supports career paths to Indigenous agriculture. We were able to support 4 Indigenous students. And what's interesting about the project is the students apply and they say where they want to work. And then the professors that are part of this project tries to find and pair them up with an organization in a particular community that maybe they have a tie to or connection to. And so the students then do get a certificate in regenerative agriculture as part of this internship program. It's a paid internship program. And so I believe Katie might be dropping a link about, to an article to share more about this regenerative agriculture certificate program at Fort Lewis College. And the last thing I'd like to share today is hopefully some things that you can use. So I'm going to share my screen and just talk a little bit about that functional area in decision support. So hopefully this is showing up for you. Yeah, great. So these are some of our decision support tools that some of them cover the nation and some cover smaller, more discrete areas, but may be of interest. And so can you see my screen with the tools on it now? Okay, great. So one I wanted to mention was the agricultural risk viewer. So what this tool shares is indemnity information. So how much money was paid for crop loss linked to a cause of loss on a monthly, annual scale down to the county scale to the national scale. And so why is this important? Well, from a climate perspective, and at least a weather and climate perspective, knowing what the main causes of loss are in a location for a specific crop can really help you think about, is this what should be grown here? Or how can we adapt to this particular cause of loss? So that's the Ag Risk Viewer. We have some other tools that I just want to briefly mention. The Forest Resource Index for Decisions and Adaptation. We like to come up with fun names, so we call that FRIDA. And FRIDA is really a place where if you're working in forestry and you're doing a vulnerability assessment or you need information, it's a clearinghouse for that information, and you can search the clearinghouse to help do some of your work. I do want to mention our Water Adaptation Techniques Atlas. The lead research scientist for WADA is on the call, Dr. Noah Silbercoates. He's part of our team. But this is really our attempt to focus on water scarcity solutions, as opposed to, we hear a lot about, especially in the Colorado River Basin, the challenges and the problems, but we wanted to catalog and understand what people were doing to cope with water scarcity. And so WADA now is a clearinghouse for more than 260 examples of things that people have tried, from demand-based strategies to supply-based strategies, alternate crops, changing in irrigation, many different solutions. Some of them are historic and may be maladaptive, but we included them anyway to show what people have done in the past and maybe what didn't work. It's important. The climate quick reference guides are county level. So if you're working in a specific county, working locally, which is often where climate adaptation work happens, there is a guide for almost all of the counties in the country. And that guide will give you information about current conditions, projected future conditions, just detailed information related to that specific county. And tools for the beef industry is very similar. That's Toby. Toby's similar to FRIDA. And it's, again, a clearinghouse of information that can be helpful to beef producers that can be searched in a variety of ways. So different platforms, different types of information. And then just a few more tools I wanted to mention in case they may be helpful. So has this group heard of GrassCast? You may have already had a presentation. Okay, I'll skip GrassCast. After Fire is really a resource for municipal communities, water providers after fire, to provide some where to go for funding, how to assess your landscape. Is the fire going to affect your water supply? And then we also have a dust mitigation handbook that links to NRCS conservation practices and funds. So this, especially in the Southwest, is really important, although it could be used anywhere that you're concerned about dust and dust challenges. And then finally, there's some data. If you're interested in future climate data around minimum temperature, maximum temperature, and precipitation at a county level, those data and description of those data are available. So I just wanted you to know those resources are there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
That's great, Emily. Thank you very much. Are there questions from the group? If not, I have a couple questions of the resources that you showed. Some of them are uh, specific for the Southwest, and some are national, correct?
That is correct. Yes. I can, would you like me to say which ones are national? Would that be helpful?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Just share again. So the Ag Risk Viewer is national. Frida started with a focus on New Mexico and Arizona, but when we find extra resources, we add them, so it's become national.
Great.
WADA also started in Arizona, but has grown, and we've recently added Hawaii. I would say it's a Western tool, including Hawaii. The quick reference guides are national. Toby includes information for beef producers that's national, but I would say there's more in the West, just because beef production is where it's centered. And then after fire, it's sort of general information and research, so that could be everywhere.
That's great. That's really helpful. Thanks. Catherine.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I was a few minutes late. My name is Kate. I'm with the Northeast Climate Hub based in Portland, Maine, and I'm a Tribal Climate Equity Fellow there. I'm about 5 months into my fellowship. I'm really happy to be here and to learn about all of this awesome work that you all are doing. At the Northeast Climate Hub, we're really sort of in the early stages of developing a robust tribal engagement program for our region. So I love hearing about these specific projects. And my questions are twofold. One is about funding, how funding was allocated. And then the second is, where did the ideas come from? Did the ideas come from the communities or the institutions, or did they come from the Climate Hub? And just how did that sort of work?
So we allocated through cooperative agreements some of our base funds to work with IAIA. And that idea was their idea. And we just spoke with them to find programs they were doing that linked with Climate Hub goals. And so for IAIA, that Institute of American Indian Arts, that's how the beekeeping program evolved. For the DICES project, we were, and that's the Acequia project. For the Acequia project, we were one of a group of people that applied. It's a National Science Foundation grant. And so we were a part of this grant that was funded. So there's not one clear pathway for us. And then for the Regenerative Agriculture Certificate Program, that also was a program that I learned about and decided to obligate some of my base funds to support more students being able to participate in that program.
Great, thank you. And those are college students?
Yes, yeah, they're college students.
Okay, great, thank you.
And your base funds, Emily, are ARS, correct?
Yes, yeah. Half of the climate hubs are through the Forest Service, and half, as you know, Kate, are through the ARS. And so, yes, our funds come through the Agricultural Research Service.
Great. Mike. There
Hi,
you are.
happy birthday, Maureen. We'll have to get together soon. Hey, my name is Mike Derglo. I'm the climate coordinator for the Confederate Salish and Kootenai tribes in Northwest Montana. And also I was appointed to serve on the Advisory Council for Climate Adaptation and Science by Secretary of Interior Holland. And we just had a meeting in Minneapolis last week. And in that meeting, we talked about, well, let me back up. As part of our duties or our jobs on the council, the National Advisory Council is to develop guidance for all the casks. Are you guys familiar with those guys? We should be talking to those guys. You guys, us guys should be talking to those guys, and those guys should be talking to us guys. I don't see anybody else that's part of the cask. Are they involved? Is anybody on the cask involved in this group, Maureen?
Yeah, not formally, although we've worked with them before. But we do know that the hubs each have connections and relationships directly with the casks in their region. So that's in this project we're working with the hubs, and they have good connections. So, for instance, we did worked with the Southwest Hub on the Southwest Adaptation Forum that was co-organized with the casks. We've done a lot of work with the casks up here, both of them for our area, Mike, Eastern and Western Nevada. So we've had engagement, but not formally. Emily, and do you want to add more on that?
Yeah, I will just say that we partner pretty directly with the Southwest and the South Central cask. And so they're on our steering committee. We have Frida, that tool I showed was a cooperative project with the casks. So there's definitely links where we connect and partner. We're planning upcoming climate summit, which will be in 2026, and that's a joint climate hub cask effort.
Cool.
Perfect.
That's kind of where I was going with that, Emily, because as part of my duties, I guess, on the Science Council is not only developing guidance for the casks, but for myself personally, it was like, to me, that's a top-down type of approach, or when you're developing guidance for all these, there's 9 casks. And so for me, it's like, well, what about the tribes, and how do we address the needs of the tribes, right? So I just put together a workshop with the North Central cask, the North. We had both Region 8 and Region 7 tribes included, and the North Central cask, and who else? I was hoping to get 39 tribes here up at Quatucknuck, up at Flathead Lake. I got 16 tribes, and we had 60 people. But one of the things that came out of that is, and you guys know this better than, most, it's like everybody's at different levels or different places in their planning processes. So we need to meet them at their level to help them, with their planning development. And some tribes don't even have time to plan. They're just in reaction mode. So one of the asks that I have of all of you, though, is I'm looking for examples, and I saw all of the things that you had on the list there, Emily, and thank you for that. One of the things that I'm looking for is examples of inclusion of indigenous knowledge and Western science in making informed decisions about specific projects. I'll give you and I know I don't have the floor or the time, but I'll give you an example of a project that I just have been working on. It's working with the North Carolina State University, part of the National Park Service Tribal Engagement Working Group. We are working on a project up in Glacier National Park looking at climate impacts to cultural sites and resources. So there's over 300 sites in park that we've identified. We picked out 9, and of those 9, they're at different elevations, different site types. And we went up and looked at those sites to identify, using Western science, to identify climate impacts or potential impacts. And then we came up with alternatives to present to the elders. And we said, okay, this site is being disturbed or damaged or lost by erosion, for instance. We can, put riprap, we can move some of the site, we could do, so we gave them a list of alternative. And at the end of the day, they could say, we don't want you to do nothing. We just want you to stay out of there, right? Just let nature take its course. Although we know that nature is not natural anymore, but they want us to stay out of some of those areas. So I'm looking for your guys's, if you have any examples of things like that, where Western science and indigenous knowledge was used to make decisions about, what do we do? I would very much appreciate it.
Yeah,
I might send you a chunk of salmon.
I actually, Helena, maybe that comes back to some case examples where you're working directly with the communities, Emily and Kate as well. If you've got we've presented a lot on tools and capabilities and services and all that. And I think what Mike is getting at is, can we give some really concrete case examples where we've brought Western science and the traditional knowledge together and are actually affecting decision making on the ground. And I know we have a few cases in our work, but if you have some from the rest of the community, that'd be great.
I just have one more
yeah,
thing.
Go ahead, Mike.
And then I'll be quiet. I'm also working with the Department of Interior and they call us subject matter experts. So a group of indigenous knowledge holders. There's 6 of us. Dan Wildcat, Anne-Marie Chischilla, you guys might know some of these folks. Developing guidance, indigenous knowledge, using indigenous knowledge guidance for the Department of Interior. That guidebook is almost done. It ended up being around 140 pages long, which is ridiculous, I think, because nobody reads them. But so that's almost done. We are now starting to develop a series of videos that everybody in the department is going to have to go at least through the guidebook. And that, well, I say that, but now I'm thinking, well, things are going to change now. Shit hit the fan, I guess. Anyway, I don't know if they'll be doing that now, but it's there. We got the guidebook, and then I'll share that with you guys once I get the final. And then also, I'll be going somewhere to do some video recording. They want to put together a group of us to do actual recording for the Department of Interior around indigenous knowledge.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, we need to keep this going from the ground up, even if it's not coming from the top down in the next few years.
Well, that's the thing. We just need to, somebody said in Minneapolis, we need to tend our own garden. I mean, that's what it is. Yep. Take care of our communities. We've been through this before. We'll get through it again.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thanks for sharing that example. It actually made me think of a cultural resources vulnerability assessment that we're doing, very Western science based, for the national forests in the Southwest, and that there may be a really nice opportunity to actually have some conversations with some elders about desires and bring that into some of the Forest Service planning. So thank you for mentioning that, because it's leading me to think about how we could grow. We've certainly done things in partnership, and Helena has really led the charge, but those things haven't necessarily been integrating Western science and traditional knowledges for decision making. So I feel like that's our next challenge. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we'll probably be reaching out to you.
Yeah, Mike, if you could go ahead and put your email in the chat, or I can do that. That would be great, because I do. Mike is a fabulous resource, and I think if we can build some of these connections, and Kate, it's great to have you here from the Northeast. We really want to be able to hear. We'll put you on the spot to hear more what's going on in your world soon as well. But that's great. Katie, did you have a few things to add?
Event, which is the Southwest Agroforestry
Kate,
Action Network. Yes,
Katie,
yes.
yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I did that. I was drinking my coffee and now, yeah. So just the one Southwest Agroforestry Action Network meeting in Santa Fe next year, March 11th to 13th at the Santa Fe Community College. And we're hoping to dedicate the first day to Indigenous and local agroforestry and regenerative work. The registration isn't open. We're still finalizing the agendas, but I will drop the link in the chat and we'll keep you posted as things evolve.
Fantastic. Thank you, Katie. That was short and sweet. Excellent. Well, this has been a good discussion, and I do encourage other people who have some ideas of areas where we've actually seen this cross of, connection between Western and Native sciences to come together in case examples. Please let us know. Helena, Kelsey will reach out to you, make sure we've got all the links so we can get all your resources and on this posted on the Native Climate website as well. Let's see, from our friends in USDA, Jim, Amy, Aaron, do you guys have any announcements to make?
Morning, this is Jim Dobrovolsky from USDA NIFA. I don't have a big announcement except it's panel season right now, and so we're getting ready to panel a lot of the programs, including the CARE program, which I co-manage, and the Water Quantity and Quality program, for example. And hopefully we'll see some proposals from you folks. So thanks very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Great to see you. Amy.
Everybody, nice to see you. So for those that I haven't met, I'm Amy Ganglia, National Program Leader in the Division of Global Climate. And I, in the text box or chat box, I just pasted a link to the Rapid Response to Extreme Weather program, which is a unique program that we developed 3 years ago at NIFA. And as you can imagine, we have been completely inundated. So we have just been receiving nonstop applications, especially on the heels of the back-to-back hurricanes hitting the East Coast. So the unique elements of this program is that we receive applications on a rolling basis. And there's a lot of latitude with this program in terms of we ask people to provide a rationale for the event, the need, the event that they are responding to. We don't require any federal declarations because we recognize the political nature of that. And so, basically we ask people to submit an application, which is a smaller application, a 7-page application with associated material, providing justification for why it meets a 45-day window. Now, we recognize, this group is no stranger to drought, right? A lot of the things that we deal with are not punctuated events. And even when we look at hurricanes, the impacts associated with those events are not punctuated either because the impacts are ongoing. And so there's really a wonderful opportunity for people to provide that justification we always say, like, answer the question, why this and why now? So on this webpage that you see, or that I pasted the link for, we have a list of our currently funded projects. We have a tremendous amount of outreach material, fact sheets. We host quarterly frequently asked questions sessions. And if you have any questions about this program, feel free to reach out to me. I'll also put my email address in the chat box. That's the big news. I mean, yeah, and we're rocking and rolling right now. The biggest limitation we have is that we could use a lot more funding right now. And just one thing to note, this isn't a assistance program like you would expect agencies like FEMA to do. This is to fill gaps that exist in either extension only, so those outreach, and it doesn't require cooperative extension. It could be any other entities, extension and possibly integrated research and extension.
All right, so I'll go, Maureen, if you want.
Yes, Erin, thank you.
So I'm Erin Riley, National Program Leader for the tribal programs at NIFA. And so just a couple announcements. The Tribal College Research Grant Program is going on with phase 3. It'll close December 31st, 2024. So if anybody wants to apply to that, highly recommend it. I would also like to say that December 3rd, we have a first Tuesday tribal stakeholder meeting at NIFA. Everybody's welcome. And we are going to have some project directors that have the New Beginning for Tribal Students program for sure. We have one confirmed, and I think a couple other ones. That program is to graduate more tribal students with land grant degrees from the different institutions that USDA funds. And there's some major differences since that program started. Oregon State just told me last week that they've increased their program by 28% across the board in all programs for tribal students. Wow. And they're graduating more tribal students than any other of institution within the state of Oregon. So, and they are attributing it to that New Beginnings program. So this is a pretty powerful program, and I'm really excited about it. The other thing was at I see coming up in December, Janice Woodard wanted me to mention that on the 9th, I believe it is, there is the Indian Country Extension Day on the 9th. So if anybody's interested in that, you can contact Janice Woodard or myself. And that's always in Las Vegas. And I think that is all that I have, Marina. And sorry, my camera's not on again. My eyes are dilated, so I have sunglasses on.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure you look cool, Erin. Thank you very much. Those are great announcements. We will, Amy, I'm thrilled to hear you've had your program's been popular this year. That's great, because I know you were pushing it hard for the first couple of years. So word's gotten out. That's really great news. We really appreciate everybody being here. We will get these notes and the video posted. Thank you to our Southwest Climate Hub partners. That was a great presentation. Mike, great discussion. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing everybody. We will be on break next month because most people will be at IAC, and we will see you in January. You'll be hearing from Vicki. So take care. Have good holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.